Hello and welcome to Dimzy Domain, and if you haven't checked out our other video which was titled "What if there was no rival in Yugioh Vrains for Yusaku Fujiki," check it out. But let's talk about rivals. I like villains, so we're going to be talking about the potential speculation. We're going to discuss it, by the way, just a quick heads up for you lot, but we're going to be discussing what we want in a rival in terms of Yusaku Fujiki's main enemy or mutual antagonist, or his version of Kaiba who betters him or he brings the best out of him in Yugioh Vrains. Today I'm joined with none other than BYG Aigami. Do you want to quickly say hello?
Hello everyone, and check out the playlist as well as our Facebook and Twitter fan page regarding Yugioh Vrains.
And if you want to check that out, the links are all down below. So let's talk about the rival. But before we talk about the rival, let's talk about what kind of person Yusaku Fujiki is. So from the synopsis, we know that he's kind of a timid guy. He's not the most popular, he's not the most liked person or like famous within his school. He's a 16-year-old schoolboy, and he is just a regular guy from what we know. His name translates to, what does his name translate to again?
Journey to Wisteria Tree.
Yeah, so essentially the whole tree aspect is the fact that he's growing with his experiences, and I'm assuming that he's growing as he is dueling. Now, another thing that we know is that Yusaku Fujiki is also a hacker. He is a hacker, and when he goes to the VR link space, which is like their cyber space whereby they all duel, not only does he have the Super Saiyan hair with orange, not orangey, but
it's
maroon
like
bangs.
It's like magenta or something like that.
Yeah, it's along them lines, but he has them bangs. But he also adopts the name Playmaker. So with that, I think that we could open the door of speculation regarding what we want as the rival for Yusaku Fujiki. Now, before we do that, we know that there is a mysterious life form. Now, I'll ask you straight up, do you reckon that this could be the antagonist? This could be the rival?
I don't know. Simple answer, no. It doesn't look like a rival. Neither should it be a rival. I just don't see it being a rival.
Maybe it's just the whole theme of, or that mysterious life form is just an alien who is the conduit or who is the messenger of the main rival, or what we discuss in the video, which is linked down below, that is on BYG Aigami's channel, whereby we believe that the mysterious life form could maybe recruit Yusaku Fujiki for help, or he could be the guide, or he could be the astral, or the attempt to his Yugi. So along them lines. So regarding the rival, I think that firstly we have Playmaker. Now if you want to take it literally, what would be the opposite of Playmaker? It would be something along the lines of Destroyer, or the corruptor, or someone that corrupts, someone that destroys,
a virus.
Or the perfect. Now, since we are dealing with cyberspace, with him being a hacker, we're talking about link space, and also the general aesthetic of it, it looks very cybernetic, it looks very technology heavy. So obviously an ideal go-to rival could be that this thing could be a virus, this thing could be a destroyer of data, it could be a data eater. So that is number one. I think that could be an ideal rival. What do you reckon about the whole virusy, data eater, destroyer aspect of things?
I think that's the way to go. I think that's the best way to like put the direction of the Yu-Gi-Oh villain for Vrains, or rival, my bad. Because you look at it in the acronym that Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains is supposedly supposed to be.
Theory, by the way. As of right now, it's still a theory.
Virtual Reality Artificial Intelligence Network Security. Now, if Yusaku's part of the network security, what's the best thing? It's like real life. You got police and criminals. You got Yusaku, who's part of this network security, and then you got the viruses. In real life, the Trojan viruses. The stuff like that that's basically corrupting the virtual reality world. So I would imagine that Yusaku's villain is probably going to be something along those lines of a virus, someone that's destroying data. And what's quite interesting is that we got news. I think it was in the V-Jump or possibly Weekly Jump, and it was at the little hover bridge that I used to call when we got the data image concept during Jump Festa. We saw the hover bridge, and it's called the data wind. So well, my theory is that possibly Yusaku's rival has something to do with the data wind. Maybe he's corrupting it. Maybe that's why the mysterious life form needs to bring Yusaku into the VR world. But we'll figure out very soon.
And I think that would be an ideal way. And if we want to focus on the individual now, already from what we know about Yusaku Fujiki, for him to be a hacker, for him to be a 16-year-old schoolboy and still a hacker, we know that his intellect is also very, very high.
It's now, up there. And also, it did state that Yusaku thinks on his feet from the translations. So, like, basically what that means is that he thinks in the moment. He's not like Yugi, where Yugi thinks in the moment. But the fact is that, and this was very evident in the TRPG or Monster World manga chapters, or the arc itself, when Bakura, we get the introduction of Bakura. Bakura is nice. We all know Bakura, that little weak, timid boy, basically like Yugi. But he has that dark personality. And Dark Bakura was possessing Bakura at the time. And Yugi was like, this doesn't look like Bakura. This seems off of Bakura. But the fact is that Dark Bakura did something nice just to give that illusion of him being Bakura, and Yugi fell under that trap. Now, Yusaku's the individual from the bio that we got. He wouldn't fall under that. He wouldn't notice it right there and then.
We can draw parallels to Yusaku and Yusei from the initial onset, not only from the character design but from the synopsis that we got. But the point being was the fact that we know that Yusaku is not dumb. He's very, very smart. And what have we learnt from Yu-Gi-Oh in general? What have we learnt from anime in general? The fact that if our protagonist is smart, the antagonist will always be smart, or they will always come across initially much smarter. Look at Kaiba. Kaiba is much smarter than Yugi.
Kaiba is a billionaire. He's a genius.
Look at Chaz. Look at Chaz and Zane to Jaden, because they were a little bit more smarter and more conniving, or just Zane who was just more smarter in general. But the point was, of course, the heart of the protagonist always prevails. Jack Atlas was smarter than Yusei because Jack Atlas stabbed Yusei in the back and he just went forward. And of course, we know that Yuma is the dumbest out of everyone. So all of the antagonists, all of the rivals are much smarter than him, whether it be Shark or Kite. And of course, let's look at Arc 5 with Yuya Sakaki. He's not dumb like Yuma, but he's not also the smartest. We have Declan, who is an absolute genius. He is regarded as a rival, and if he's not a rival, let's look at maybe Jack Atlas to Yuya. He is much smarter than Yuya. Or let's look at the Yuto or the other U-boys. So Yuto or Yuri, they're much more smarter than Yuya. So all the time, the antagonist is much more smarter than the protagonist. And maybe if it's not the antagonist for the whole series, but at least at one time they were the antagonist. So I expect them to be much more smarter. So this individual who is potentially the rival for Yusaku Fujiki is going to be an absolute genius. He's going to equal the abilities of Yusaku in terms of hacking. He might be he is an even better hacker. So they're going at it. It's very similar to Death Note, where you had Light and you had the other fella. So the thing being is the fact that you have this dichotomy, you have this clash of egos, clash of the brains, clash of ideals, and that's exactly what I want. I don't want this antagonist, this rival, to be a cookie cutter villain or a cookie cutter, I want to be better than you. I want them to be intelligent, because they have laid out all the groundwork to have an intelligent dialogue, an intelligent clash between these two characters from what little backstory that we have for Yusaku Fujiki. So I think that is the way forward. I think that definitely is the way forward, and that's exactly what I want. I want also this rival. You know what? How do you reckon the rival should look?
It's kind of hard. I think he's definitely going to be taller than Yusaku. Yusaku's already toe-to-toe with Yusei in terms of height. So I would imagine that Yusaku Fujiki's rival, if it does happen, is possibly the size of Kaiba or Jack Atlas, somewhere around there. But as for the design, I just want a coat. Like every Yu-Gi-Oh villain reps a coat. Kaiba, Jack Atlas. I would say Chaz does because of his school attire, especially during the Sartorius arc. But
and Kite from Yu-Gi-Oh Zexal, as well as Kite again in Yu-Gi-Oh Arc 5, in addition to the fact that Shay also, or Shun, he also has a long coat, whereas Yuto has attire very similar and reminiscent of Yugi, so they kind of show that difference between Yuto and Shun through Yugi and Kaiba, and that's what they were trying to go through. So we know that the long jacket and the attire is absolutely essential. So how on earth, and comment down below, how do you reckon, how do you want this rival to be dressed? How do you think that they should be dressed? Do you think it should be a female? Do you think they should have a female rival? I've discussed and I've speculated a lot throughout my videos, and I'll probably link it somewhere down below, but check out my video regarding a female rival, a female villain, and that could be a complete twist, a complete spanner in the works regarding the rivalry between Yusaku Fujiki, the protagonist of Yugioh Vrains, and the potential, or at least at one point, the antagonist, the roadblock, the rival for Yugioh Vrains. So before concluding and tailing off, is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I have a question for you guys, and this is going to be quite interesting. How do you think the Yugioh Vrains Rival, how is his form going to look? Because he's probably going to have that normal state, but once he does enter that VR virtual reality, cyberspace world, whatever you want to call it, how is his form going to look like?
I think they're going to utilize the color grey, black and purple a lot, because we know that purple, the aura of purple is always attributed to a lot of the villains. Now, although Yusaku Fujiki has a purple-esque, a maroon-esque, a magenta-esque color on his bangs, and we don't really have a concrete evidence regarding what his hue, what his aura color is going to be. But one thing I do want them is, if they do the whole purple one, if Yusaku has a light blue aura, then the rival must have a majority purple as his theme color, as his aura, and that's going to be a really good clash. And they usually always do that. Look at Yuri from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. And with that being said, I'm going to also ask you lot one final question. Do you think that the rivalry between Yusaku Fujiki and this new rival has the potential, from what we know from the backstory right here and then, the potential to go the distance? And you know, that's a very open-minded and open-doored question, so I'm going to make it even more harder. How would you map out a rivalry to showcase the qualities and the growth of each of these characters, and what would you want the resolution to be? I know the comments might be loaded by that, and it's kind of a loaded question, but it is the question of the day. It's like the little challenge I want to give to you lot. And with that being said, check out all the other videos, subscribe to BYG Aigami, check out the Facebook page, check out the playlist, and like, share, and subscribe to Dual Disc. You may now exit Dimzy's domain. Thank you and goodbye.